Hello, hello, it's me again. I'm here with my usual wine. It's been in the fridge open for a bit, so it doesn't taste as good, but whatever. Cheers. If you know me, you know I'm getting ready for something. I do have to leave in about 40 minutes, so I'll try to talk fast because I usually take a very long time to get my point across. But what I wanted to talk about this evening is Disney and their live action movies, specifically how the audience has been critiquing these films and there has been a lot of controversy around them as well. But I think that most of the box office flops that have been going on with these movies and how lovely the first ones were and how well received they were, like, I want to speak on that and how I think it's mostly a problem with viewers and responses and social media than it is a problem with the movies of themselves, the directive approach and like the actors. Like, I don't think that that's the issue, and I'm going to dive in as to why. So first of all, I want to talk about the first movie that was announced to be live action from Disney Princess movies, which was Maleficent. Maleficent was announced in March 2010, even though it came out in 2014, I think. And then Cinderella was shortly announced right after in May 2010, even though it also came out like in 2015. So you'll be asking, like, oh, why would they announce two live actions so quickly? Well, I have an idea as to why. When they announced that Maleficent movie, it wasn't supposed to be a live action remake, right? It was more like a retelling, like the side of the story of the villain. And so I think that when they chose to do that side of the story of the villain, it was like, oh, it's different. We're doing a live action, but it's a different story. It's not going to be the same one. And people were really into it. I mean, it received such good reviews when it was just announced. Like, nothing came out, it was just announced that they were going to do a movie on the villain of Sleeping Beauty. And that's when I thought, okay, well, maybe but Disney probably thought, okay, well, maybe it's time to do live action remakes, live action versions of these movies and like change things up a little bit because it seems to be having a good response. Let's make some live actions of our lovely Disney movies and change a couple of things. You know, like, people seem to love it. So they announced Cinderella, and people really loved that announcement as well. And they added some things and removed some things about Cinderella. They didn't make it a musical. Cinderella wasn't able to talk to animals in the movie, and the animals didn't talk and sing, so they made it more realistic. They added, I bought this suction cup thingy for my phone so that I can like talk while having it on here, and I just feel like it's so cheap. Anyway, maybe in the future I'll have more money for a better setup, but that doesn't matter. What was I saying? Right, so yeah, so another thing of Cinderella is that it's kind of weird that she met the prince, you know, just at the ball and nowhere else, and then he went around putting shoe on everyone because he forgot how she looked like. Like, it was just a couple of hours at a ball and you just dance together and that's it, and that's supposed to be the love of your life. Like, what a weird message to send to children, right? Sorry. So I love that they changed it into live action and they made them actually meet before in the woods, and they had this lovely conversation with each other, and that lovely conversation was what later sparked some like interest between them, and we got like so much more personality from the prince as well. And I just feel like that was very lovely. It was people really loved it, I really loved it, and they left those changes that they made to the movie to make it more realistic and have a better message towards the little girls that are watching. So they're like, okay, well, this received really good feedback. Well, let's announce our next movie. And you may think, yeah, the next movie was Beauty and the Beast, so they must have announced that one. They announced Mulan right after. And when they announced Mulan, they also said that they were going to be making some changes, and that Mushu wasn't going to come out, and whatever, which is funny that it was so badly received because Cinderella did the same changes. They made the animals not talk and everything, and they made it more realistic. They didn't make it a musical. And yet when they said that Mulan wasn't going to be a musical and that Mushu wouldn't be coming in and the animals wouldn't talk, everyone was just like, we don't want to watch this movie. Like, what's the point of making a remake if it's not even going to be the same? Blah, blah, blah. And it was going to be like more faithful to the legend, like the real Chinese legend, I think. Which I would assume that people would be like, oh, that's an interesting take. Let's watch that, like a different perspective on our movie, the same way that Maleficent did it. But no, it did the complete opposite. People were totally hating on it. So they put a halt to that, and they didn't release it until 2 movies after, even though it was announced before those 2 movies were announced. So the movie that was announced after was Beauty and the Beast. That was the 4th movie announced and the 3rd movie to come out. Beauty and the Beast also got some backlash because Emma Watson, they said she couldn't sing or whatever. But apart from the casting of Emma Watson, it did well, I think. And yeah, I think it's just a problem with the casting. They didn't like how they looked like, which is so funny because all the casting was white. Okay, so like think about the casting problems that we've had now with the controversy and with Beauty and the Beast. So even though they were white, they still had an issue with the casting, and I think that that's so funny. So yeah, that was the issue with Beauty and the Beast. It came out, people said that about it, but it was still pretty well received. Then comes out Aladdin, which was also announced right after Beauty and the Beast, and that movie did, I think it grossed pretty high, but it was not on the same level as Cinderella or Maleficent or Beauty and the Beast. It was less. And you know, some people also talked about casting because Naomi Scott, the one who played the actress, the lovely actress who played Jasmine, was half Indian and she wasn't Middle Eastern at all. And so people were mad about that because it's like the whole point is that they're like an Arabian Nights. They have these Arab, I don't know if that's the right word, but like they're of Arabian descent, and her not being Arabian, like just, it didn't seem right to some people. So again, more casting problems. Yeah, so that happens. Those are the issues with Aladdin. They also have like some things just like because it's different, and the story in of itself is a bit controversial, so it makes sense that there would be some controversy there, but again, nothing wow. Now this is where it gets weird because the order of these movies, so I forgot to mention this. The Little Mermaid was actually announced before Aladdin. Aladdin wasn't announced after Beauty and the Beast. Beauty and the Beast came right before Aladdin, but the Little Mermaid was announced before. So the Little Mermaid should have come out before, which would have been continuous with the timeline, excluding Snow White. So Snow White wasn't remade. The first one that was remade was Maleficent, and I don't think that that was supposed to be the start of remakes for live action, but because it was so well received, they're like, okay, let's monetize on this and make them all live action, right? And then they start from the beginning, and they, even though they start with the Beauty and the Beast, Sleeping Beauty, they went to the beginning, and they're like, let's skip Snow White, because the story is way too controversial. The movie is called Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, so it's already monetizing on dwarves, which is weird. That's not what we call them anymore. The whole point of her beauty is that she has pale skin. That's what makes her beautiful. Again, not the exact message that you want to send to young children, that because her skin was white as snow, she was the most beautiful person. Like, that's kind of weird. The whole thing about like the prince and her meaning for a day, also weird. Her whole thing is like that she is banished from the kingdom, and then she finds these men and starts living with them. She cleans for them, and that's why they like her, because she cleans for them and is like basically made for them. And yet when Rachel Zegler, the lovely actress of Snow White, said these things, people had a lot to say, and it was controversial, which is so funny because literally every single person I've ever had a conversation with about Snow White has said that same thing. No one liked that movie. Like, I can't think of anyone that wasn't born at that time that has a more progressive mind, that is my age, that is a little bit older than me, even my parents' age, that likes that movie. So I just think it's so funny that people came at her when she literally just said what everyone else was thinking. But anyway, so they had that problem with Snow White. I applaud them for not remaking that movie. So they skipped it and then went to Cinderella. The next one would be Sleeping Beauty, but they had already done that with Maleficent. So then the next one after that would have been none other than The Little Mermaid. But they didn't announce that one. They announced Beauty and the Beast first, even though Beauty and the Beast came after The Little Mermaid. So why would they announce Beauty and the Beast first? Well, duh, because making the whole movie underwater was just not in the cards in 2013, 2012, which is when they were making Beauty and the Beast. So I think like if I had to choose between Beauty and the Beast or The Little Mermaid, and it's 2013 when we're filming, I would have also chosen Beauty and the Beast, even though it's later in the timeline, right? Just because it's so difficult to make a whole movie that's underwater, and it would have been so expensive also. It probably wouldn't have looked good. And then as CGI got better, then they announced The Little Mermaid. And they announced Berry as well. Oh my god, did I say Halle Berry? Halle Bailey, right? They announced her as well. And I thought that she was a great choice because the movie is all about choosing love, even though people are against it because you're from different worlds. It's a Romeo and Juliet story, if you will. It's like how these people, like their families don't want to be together because they're different worlds, they're different species, blah, blah, blah. It's all a metaphor, basically, for interracial or intercultural relationships. So I really loved that they chose Halle Bailey and a white guy to be Prince Eric, because then the metaphor would have been more literal as well. That they are from two different worlds, the same way that people might have problems with people from two different cultures or two different races to fall in love and get married. So I think that was just like right on the nose, and I thought it was like a lovely approach to that story. And I think it really showed, like, it made it more realistic, the same way that they did for Cinderella, the same way that they did for Maleficent, just like adding a different twist to the story, like to make it more like real or whatever. So when people didn't like it, it was obviously just because of racism. Because since when do like adults care that much about cartoons? They don't. You know, it was just like this huge thing with the news and social media and everything, just like to divide people and get them talking, because they know if like, oh, you know, if we say a hot take, people are going to agree with it and people are going to fight in the comments. So let's give hot takes all the time so that people just engage. And that's what happened. And because people lack media literacy nowadays, then they didn't really question it. They didn't really have a mind of their own or their own opinion. They were just repeating what everyone else says because they're teenagers. And all those teenagers spewing the same comments over and over again, the adults are reading it and they're like, oh, these people who I don't know that are actually kids are all saying the same thing, so I'm gonna start saying the same thing too. And so on and so forth. So that's just what I think about The Little Mermaid, which is why they put it on pause for so long. So even though The Little Mermaid was announced before Aladdin, and yeah, Aladdin actually came out first, so interesting. But yeah, Aladdin came out first, then came out Mulan, again before The Little Mermaid, but Mulan was already in the making, but there was some controversy around that as well. So it was interesting because Mulan had been announced before Aladdin, it had been announced before The Little Mermaid, but because of the controversy around the fact that they were going to make it more realistic, again, the same way that they did for Cinderella, not making it a musical, not making it have animals talking, making it more faithful to the actual story, by doing that, they had to pause it and wait until people were ready. They waited, they released it, and it didn't do good. It didn't do well. And people were already kind of mad at the casting of Aladdin, even though it did very well, that when Mulan came out and everyone had already been talking about how they're not going to watch it because it's not a musical, and how they're not going to watch it because Mushu isn't in it, which again was not a problem with Cinderella or Sleeping Beauty, that they changed things. So to me, it's just because it was a Chinese story, honestly, because there's no way, like, there's no way that it was fine if it was Maleficent or Cinderella, but it's not fine if it was Mulan. So when Mulan came out, and everyone started saying these things on the internet, and then people stopped going to the movies to watch it, and it flopped. People were already like, oh yeah, Disney, they're not doing the live actions good anymore. That's what they were saying. They're like, oh, their live actions are flopping, like I'm sure the next one, that Little Mermaid one that's gonna come out, that the casting's terrible, it's gonna flop as well, which is what happened. The Little Mermaid unfortunately kind of flopped, even though I thought the movie was amazing. And I loved that they gave Prince Eric more personality, and they gave him his own song. I loved that, but apparently other people didn't. And so again, people are just talking now, like, oh yeah, Aladdin had bad casting, and Mulan came out and it wasn't the same, and The Little Mermaid, what a flop, blah blah blah, the casting sucks, blah blah blah. And again, so funny, because they're just following the same good feedback that people gave them for Maleficent, Cinderella, and Sleeping Beauty. So it's like, okay, like what? Why is it only for the movies where the main character isn't white? And then comes out Snow White. And okay, in my opinion, they shouldn't have remade that movie. They shouldn't have made that movie live action just because it just doesn't work nowadays. The story's outdated. But again, Rachel Zegler, like I said in the beginning, she repeated things that people have been saying since forever. But because she repeated it, then, you know, people started to blow it out of proportion and then say that she wasn't a good choice and just saying racist things because they have nothing better to do with their lives. So when that movie did come out and they decided to change the fairness and everything to instead of being that she was like instead of being like her skin was as fair and as white as snow, they're like, oh, her heart is pure and she has her name's Snow White because her heart is pure as snow or something like that. I don't know. So I like that. I'm like, oh yeah, that's a lovely message to send to kids. And this actress is really good at theater and Broadway, and she does opera, so amazing. They decided to make it more modern by making the music less opera and more modern, which is also the same thing that they did for Aladdin, which hit really well. People really like the songs in Aladdin. So even though they did the same thing for the Little Mermaid, not the Little Mermaid, Snow White, they didn't like it. They're like, oh, she doesn't sound the same, blah, blah, blah. Why didn't they make her like sing opera, blah, blah, blah. I bet the actress can't sing, which is not the case at all. The actress sings amazingly and she does sing opera. They just decided to take a different creative take to make it more progressive and make it more modern towards the children that are supposed to be watching the movie. But anyways, the movie, before it came out, it was announced that there weren't going to be dwarves in it. I thought that was a good call because just like calling them dwarves to people who have dwarfism isn't exactly what we call them anymore. So it would have been a little weird to do that, but then people didn't like that either. And they decided to scratch the idea and put in the dwarves, but because it was announced later, they just kind of CGI'd them. And people were mad about that too. And so the whole movie flopped because it had terrible budget afterwards because they had to do filming all over again because of the controversy around the dwarves. So because they did the filming all over again, people pulled out their budgeting and it wasn't very good, and that flopped again because of the people over and over again, the audience and people's opinion in social media just made it flop. So I understand why that won't flop though. That shouldn't have been made from the beginning. So now it's 3 movies that people are saying, oh, it's flop and flop and flop. It's over for Disney. And now people are just on this train. And it doesn't matter if you give them a masterpiece, they're not going to be happy. It doesn't matter if this next movie that's coming up, Rapunzel, the Tangled movie, is an absolute masterpiece because people have already made up their minds. I haven't seen Moana yet, but I know it came out. And I heard people who haven't seen Moana saying that they're not going to watch it, that it's probably going to flop. And people just based on the trailer are saying that it looks cheap, that the wigs look like trash. They're complaining about the hair texture. They're complaining about a bunch of things without having watched the movie based on a trailer of 1 minute. And it's all things that I've heard people say online. So their opinions aren't even theirs. It's just of everyone else's because of this opinion that they've already formed on Disney live action movies from before. So yeah. And again, another movie where the main character isn't white. And now I'm getting really good, the Tangled movie is getting really good buzz and people are excited for it. She is, again, so funny to me. Because it's like she's white again. So maybe this time people will be happy. But it's just insane. It's insane. But yeah, that is my hot take. And now I will finish my makeup. But let me know if you've noticed that too. But it's just something, I don't know, it's just interesting to me. You get what I'm saying? Like, that Maleficent and Cinderella, they made a lot of changes and they did like a completely different take on the story and people just loved it, like absolutely insanely loved it. And that when they do that same thing for the other movies, they don't like it anymore. And I don't think adults care that much about the movies, or that the reporters on TV care that much about the movies. It's just that people are trying to politicize everything, even stories for kids. And I'm just so tired of everything being political. You know? Like, can we live in a world where things just are? You know, where not everything has to be a statement? Can some things just be for the sake of being? Can some art just be art? I don't know. But that's what I think about it. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. Hit me up. Oh, I did hear some things about, oh, this is so funny. The Moana, I totally forgot to mention this. Some things I have heard about Moana over and over again, and again, I haven't watched the movie yet, the live action one yet, is that they made it exactly like the animated movie, frame by frame. So what was the point of even making it again, is what I heard a lot of people say. Again, so funny to me, because they get mad that The Little Mermaid and Snow White aren't like the live action, aren't like the animated versions. And when Moana is exactly like the animated version, they also get mad, because they say, what's the point if it's going to be exactly the same? So it's like there's nothing that can be done once people have made their minds, once people have formed a cumulative opinion, a cult-like opinion, then there's nothing that you can do about it. So I think that's very funny. Another thing that I think is very funny is that when Princess and the Frog came out, the animated version, it was based on The Frog Prince, obviously, which is a European tale. And that European tale probably didn't have Black Americans in mind when they wrote it. Yet when that movie came out and it was based in New Orleans, and to be honest, obviously a Black woman who's, you know, the princess, and at the end of the movie, and the prince is not a European prince, he's like Indian. People had some things to say, but it wasn't as big of a deal. It was just like some opinions here or there. So I just think it's really interesting how now topics like that are so much bigger than they used to be. Because it's like, why is it such a big deal now? And it's almost like everything goes back to politics. This country, this world has been divided so much, and certain things have gone in too far into press, instead things that are just supposed to be personal opinion have become politics. So I guess I'd just like to know your guys' opinions on that. Let me know in the comments. Maybe I get political all the time, I don't know. But yeah, if you guys like to hear me yap and are interested in my opinions, hit that like and subscribe button. Vaseline, my good friend, use this on your lips if you're like me and are a nervous lip picker. Very, very good. Anyways, those are just my thoughts. I think my favorite Disney movie, tell me what your guys' are, but my favorite Disney movie is The Iron Giant. No, Alice in Wonderland. Alice in Wonderland was my favorite. I watch all the time. And my favorite Disney princess movie is a tie between Princess and the Frog and Tangled. I love them both. I also really like Frozen 2. I'm really excited for the new Tangled movie. I loved the Little Mermaid live action. I watched it twice. I also love the Cinderella live action. So, yeah. But you know what's a movie that I've really been wanting to see live action? And don't come at me for this, but Cars. And no, I don't mean with actual cars. I mean, imagine the movie Cars, but instead of them being cars, it's about like they're the same story, but about the drivers. So like the drivers of the cars would be the live action characters. I feel like that would be so cool, like to see the race driver Lightning McQueen go to this place and people like know him and whatever. And he goes to a small town and it's used to be a touristy spot, but because of the making of highways, people don't really pass by it anymore. I feel like that would be so cool. Let me know what you think about that. I would be down to watch that. It'll be like, it'll be like, I don't know. I just think it'll be cool. Anyways, finishing touch is lipstick. Lipstick makes the dream work. And that's the final look. Anyways, thank you for listening to me yap. I love you, and bye. Again, remember to like and subscribe. I can't even talk. And if you had liked me yapping, let me know, and let me know what else I should form an opinion on and talk about. Bye.